From the shadowy forests of the Ozarks to the forgotten hollers tucked deep in the heart of Arkansas, the strange has always had a way of finding the quiet places. But these stories, they don't just live in the past. They echo, they linger, and sometimes they return louder than ever. This is the Supernatural Roundtable, a place for stories, for questions, and for those who walk the line between the known and the unknown. Tonight, your hosts are Craig and Richard, believers, chasers of truth, and men who've heard just enough to know there's more out there than meets the eye. They aren't here to convince you, just to share what's been seen, and maybe what's still watching from the tree line. So pull up a chair. The night's just getting started, and your seat's been waiting.
High above the tree line where the air burns the lungs and every step sinks knee-deep into the drift, the world is silent except for the storm. But sometimes in that silence, Sherpa herders say they hear it, a low whistle that carries on the wind. Heavy footfalls in the snow where no human walks. The smell of musk and wild fur. For 1,000 years, the people of these valleys have told of the presence that stalks the passes, part spirit, part beast. Tonight, we climb into that storm, following the tracks of the one they call the Yeti. Hello everyone and welcome to the Supernatural Roundtable. I'm Richard and joined by my co-host Craig. Today we're talking about the Yeti of the high Himalayas, creature of legend that has been portrayed in fiction and multiple other side projects. It's captured the imagination of people since they started seeing footprints in the snow when climbing Everest was a huge thing back in the 50s and 60s. So tonight we're going to dive into it.
Alrighty. Of course, the legend of the Yeti. The Yeti is deeply embedded in the folklore of the Tibetan and Nepalese people, where it is revered and feared as the garden of the mountain realms, known as Meta to the Sherpa people. The Yeti is often described as a tall, bipedal figure standing anywhere from 6 to 10 feet tall, with long, muscular limbs covered in thick fur to protect it from the extreme cold. Um, Now, apparently, there's several different kinds of Yeti. Um, I actually found some research where there's three different types. First is the largest, terrifying. I don't even know if I can say this. I'm probably going to butcher it. Uh, Dazute. Dazute. I don't know. Who stands about 8 feet tall when he's on his back legs. However, he prefers to walk on all fours. He can kill a yak with one swipe of his claws.
One swap. Yeah, I've heard.
One swipe. And then there's the smaller Chew Key or Thelma. Don't ask me. A little reddish colored child sized creature who walks on two legs and has long arms. He is seen in the forests of Sikkim and Nepal. And then there is Mete, who is most like a man and has orangery red fur on his body. He attacks humans and is one most often depicted on a monastery wall painting. Yeti or Yeti is a mutation of his name. He looks most like a Tintin in Tibet Yeti. I know that's weird, but
Hmm.
I'd never known that there was actually three types.
Yeah, I found that out this afternoon while I was also doing research. I was like, huh, there's three different ones.
Right, and I'm sorry, people, if I butchered any of the names. I try to pronounce them like it seems they are.
Well, I mean, yeah. The whole thing just is a bit crazy, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in that one that supposedly goes on four legs, but I don't know. I mean, that could possibly be a bear, maybe. I Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And can kill a yak with one swap of his claws. And they got some. I I've got it somewhere. Two types of bear. A type of bear up that way. I can't exactly remember them right off the top of my head, but I mean, a lot of the people say that it's mistaken identity is what it is.
Yeah, but that probably wouldn't explain all the sightings and all the reports that we hear about Yeti and Bigfoot and Sasquatch and so on and so forth.
And what about the footprints? I mean, they look like a human foot, only two and three times bigger.
Yeah, I mean, some of them could possibly be explained away by a double step bear print, but not all of them.
I wouldn't think so. No, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And the people of Nepal and Bhutan and all that, they've been seeing this creature for a very long time. Long before Buddhism took root on the Tibetan plateau, the Bon world was crowded with mountain and glacier spirits. Was that you crackling just there?
Yeah.
Okay. The wild company of high places. When the Buddhism arrived in the 7th and 8th century, the old beings didn't vanish. They were absorbed and reclassified in the cosmos. So the glacier, they were called them the glacier guardians, or yeah. So they've been seeing these things, at least in written record, as far as Buddhists are concerned, since the 7th and 8th century AD. Which that
that's that's quite a ways back, and
about, what, 1,000 years?
yeah, and then I've got a record here going back as far as 300 BC,
So
and
predating the birth of Christ.
right. I mean, it starts out, of course, Alexander the Great set out to conquer Persia and India in 326 BC, penetrating nearly as far as Kashmir. He heard about strange wild men of the snow who were described as something like satyrs, the lustful Greek gods with the body of a man, but the horns, uh, horns and legs and feet of an animal. Alexander demanded to have one of them brought to him, but the local villagers said the creatures could not survive in low altitude. Later, Pliny the Elder
Pliny
wrote
the Elder.
Pliny, okay, wrote in his naturalist historia. Um, I guess that's some kind of a record book. He wrote, "In the land of the satyrs, in the mountains that lie east of India, live creatures that are extremely swift, as they can run on both 4 feet and on two. They have bodies like men, and because of their speed, can only be caught when they are ill or old."
Hmm. It makes me wonder if they did ever catch some back in the day and we just don't have a record of it.
Well, I mean, back then, who you gonna tell?
I mean, you'd get written records, plenty.
Yeah, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt.
So,
But I thought that was really interesting. I mean, there's actually, you know, recorded, recorded stuff as far as 300 BC.
well, I believe we touched on this like in our, I hate to say our pilot episode, our very first episode, the origins of Bigfoot. I think we
Oh
touched on
yeah,
this a little bit, but that's been almost a year ago. So,
right.
which that's hard to believe.
I know it.
Yeah. Anthropologist H. Seeger, working in the Himalayas, recorded how the people, the Buddhists up there, also venerated a glacier being, and how Bond believers spoke of the Wildman whose blood had ritual uses. So I don't know. That's really interesting. So the Yeti, I mean, like in Native American cultures and all that, has been living side by side alongside humans for a long time, at least.
Yeah,
For at least a
uh,
1,000 years.
yeah, right. And some of the first Yeti sightings. Um, I've got one here. 1921, British explorer Charles Howard Bury or Berry
Howard
led
Berry.
it. Yeah, led an expedition to Mount Everest and reported seeing large mysterious prints in the snow, and he attributed these tracks to a creature he referred to as a wild man in the snows. His Sherpa guides identified the tracks as belonging to. Um, Now I looked this up on Google to see how to pronounce it, but it's Meto Kangmi, a term that's loosely translated as the abominable snowman.
Mm-hmm.
This phrase, though a misunderstanding of the original language, becomes synonymous with the Yeti and has cemented its place in popular culture.
Hmm.
I kind of felt that was really quite interesting.
Yeah, it's cool because that would be, of course, Nepal, Bhutan, and all that are such rugged countries to even be in. That I mean, the altitude alone would. I mean, let's just say it'd kick our tail ends.
Oh, there ain't no doubt about it.
As
You
much as
know.
I want to go to Nepal and go Yeti hunting, I don't think I'd make it.
Oh,
So
I tell you, we would pass out.
yeah. Now here's something interesting. The first time it was ever described by anyone from what we would consider the West was 1832. British naturalist B.H. Hodgson was traveling through Nepal when his guides freeze at the sight of a tall, dark, hairy biped moving through the snow. Hodgson dutifully records the event and for the Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal, then shrugs it off as an orangutan, a zoological miss, given that orangutans live nowhere near the Himalayas, but it's the first Western record of the wild man in these mountains. 1832.
Right, and the whole thing about that, he said it moved erectly, and of course it was covered with the long dark hair, and it had no tail.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's definitely interesting.
I mean, scientists are supposed to, well, I mean, granted, this is 1832, and I believe there is a very if you look at the world today and the way the world views the Bigfoot phenomenon, it's scientists that are really entrenched themselves on the subject that don't want to move. But it's disappointing that scientists don't are not more curious about the subject. You know.
No doubt about it, and some of the, I mean, throughout the Yeti's history, some a lot of distinguished men, you know, uh, found signs of it,
A lot more have even looked for it, like Sir Edmund Hillary.
or William U. Knight, which he was a member of the British Royal Society.
Yep.
And he claimed that he seen one that was a little under 6 feet, almost stark naked in that bitter cold.
Mm.
He said it was kind of pale yellow all over and about the color of a Chinaman. A shock of matted hair on its head, little hair on,
You
I
lost
think,
your notes.
yeah, little hair on his face, but he had highly splayed feet and large, formidable hands.
Hmm.
His muscular development in his arms, legs, and back and chest was terrific. He said, so that makes you wonder. And I'll note this: he also said in his hand was some type of primitive bow. And this was in 1888 by William U. Knight.
That is very strange. I didn't find that one.
Well, I looked up and I found some of the 10, I guess the 10 best sightings and, information on the Yeti.
Yeah, it was. I was wanting more local, I guess, lore, but I guess locals wouldn't get on and like post their stuff online. Obviously, not in the Himalayas. So that was disappointing. So having to rely on Western sources for a lot of the stuff was
Yeah, I
unfortunate.
agree.
But there was a lot of fairly famous people that either had encounters or had incidents or something happen with the Yeti, which is, I would say, a bit out of the norm for most Bigfoot stuff. But then again, given where uh, Everest is and all that, I can kind of see why.
And then you got here's another one. Just Major Bill Tillman. Uh, they actually followed footprints for a mile, and these footprints were 16 inches apart,
Jesus.
about 6 to 8 inches in diameter. Um, I mean these are major people. They're
Military rank people. These are people that
yeah,
hold military rank that should, these are not your run of the mill rent a cop type people.
exactly. These are people that they a lot of them went there naturally to climb, or all that.
Well, for the
They
longest time, this is part of the British Empire, and they were able to do that pretty easily.
right.
Let's see, here's 1899. The explorer Lawrence Waddell publishes Among the Himalayas. He notes large footprint tails and gods whom speak of ape-like wanderers, but he dismisses it as all bears and hearsay. On the most superficial investigation, he writes, every tale dissolves into something. He was pretty skeptical. But here's something, and of course, you already talked about Charles Howard Berry's story. But then, 1925, a Greek explorer named N.A. Tombazi is glassing a distant slope near the Zimu Glacier when he sees a dark human shaped figure stooping over to tear at bushes. Hours later, he and his team reached the spot and studied bipedal tracks 6 to 7 inches long, 4 inches wide. Tombazi, a cautious man, chalks it up to a wandering hermit, but the account lodges in the alpine imagination like an ice pick. So, I mean, they were having sightings. Not regular. I'm sure the locals are having much more. They're having more sightings than the normal person because they live in this territory. They deal with this stuff.
Right. And I've got another one here. This was in Nepal, 1970. Don Willens. Uh, he was the colorful and He was a Manchester plumber. He saw strange footprints in Annapurna
Mm-hmm.
and huh
Yeah, I think you said it right.
Annapurna. At their they had a base camp there, and anyway, they followed or they didn't follow. Later that night, they watched an ape-like creature about a quarter of a mile away through binoculars in the bright moonlight for 20 minutes. He could clearly see a powerful animal bounding along on all fours and headed straight up the slope in absolutely bright moonlight. He said it looked like an ape, but he didn't think it was a bear. In the morning, he said his stash of Mars bars was gone.
Mars bars, so it had a taste
that's
of chocolate.
that's what he said.
That's really weird.
And he went up to make a full reconnaissance to the permanent base camp, and he took the Sherpas along with him to gauge their reaction to the tracks. I thought I'd see their reaction at the point where I had photographed the tracks the day before. The tracks were so obvious that it was impossible not to make any comment, but they walked straight past and didn't indicate that they even seen them.
They were ignoring them.
Well, the Sherpas, the Yeti is sacred to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll go out of their way to ignore one, or I know they give offerings to the people of Nepal and Bhutan. They give offerings to the Yeti when they're harvesting an animal or what have you. So in 1951, on the Minlung Glacier, Everest veteran Eric Shipton photographed a now iconic footprint beside his boot and ice pick. I'm pretty sure I've seen this. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this picture.
Right.
The one with the big broad heel, 5 splayed toes, and his foot next to it. It's iconic because it sparked the argument over was it just melting snow and if it was something else or was it a Yeti. But he captured that in 1951. Then a couple of years later, in 1953, Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Everest, and his Sherpa Tenzing Norgay report strange tracks during their Everest climb. Tenzing, raised on the Sherpa lore, he pretty much knew what they were. He was he was kind of on the fence about it. Hillary was skeptical immediately. Still the reports multiply in 1954. The Daily Mail bankrolls a snowman expedition led by John Angelo Jackson, which photographs monastery paintings of the Yeti and catalogs trackways between Everest and Kanchenjunga. Many explained by the widened prints and a few not. And then the relic fever hit because there's a story in here that's kind of crazy. It sounds like a Hollywood movie story.
Huh.
There's a monastery in the Himalayas. I can't hardly pronounce it. But monks at the time were said to have been guarding a mummified hand and the scalp. Everyone's heard of the scalp.
Yes. And I think it's even been. Didn't someone do a DNA test on it?
Yeah, and it came back as not, what was it? Human or something like that. One of them came back as goat. It's really weird. So I don't know. Anyway, the relics have been stored attached to one legend traces the hand to a Yeti who became a monk's disciple, bringing him food and fuel until death. The bones are kept as a sacred memory and paraded during festivals. In 1957 through 1959, Tom Slick, an old man, funds Yeti hunts, and his operative Peter Byrne famously steals finger bones from the hand, allegedly swapping in human bones to hide the theft, and smuggles them out. Actor James Stewart from It's a Wonderful Life is even roped into the caper as a courier, hiding the bones in his wife's lingerie drawer on their train.
Huh. Now that's something.
Yeah. I believe they later tests show that it was human, but I don't know. I I've got my own little theories and thoughts on that, and I'm not sure. But also it said physically that it is about the size of a human hand, so it's very possible it could be human. So and also the Hillary also borrows some samples from a scalp, purportedly, and it's consistent with a Sero, a Himalaya goat antelope, not a primate. And amid the circus, the governments, especially ours, here in the United States, begins to take notice. And in 1959, the U.S. Embassy in Kathmandu issues an official memo. If you are an American mounting a Yeti hunt in Nepal, you must buy a permit. You are not allowed to kill the creature unless it is in self-defense. And turn over proof to the Nepalese authorities before you go blabbing to the press. So, and I actually pulled it up. This is an official document. I'm like, wait a minute, this is legit, and it's dated. I'm actually pulling it up again. I'm gonna put it on the yeah. You can pull it up, and I'm gonna pull it up, and I'm gonna put it, of course, on here. But you got the date. Yeah, September 30th. Or actually, it says June 23, 1959 is when this was issued.
That's crazy.
I mean,
That is.
So there you go, Craig.
I can't read it, but
No,
I see it.
yeah, you see it, but it's an official document from the pretty much the U.S. State Department saying you are not allowed to shoot a Yeti, and if you're going to go Yeti hunting to photograph it, you must get a permit.
Wow,
So
that's just crazy.
It's like a game animal. So it's just nuts.
And I got something pretty interesting here. Have you heard of the Ross Barnett's DNA sequencing?
No, I have not.
Well, you know, of course, the Royal Society of London, they've always been interested in this, apparently.
They're interested in a lot of things. So.
Yeah, and you fast forward a half a century later, geneticist Dr. Ross Barnett got a hold of some supposed Yeti relics, such as hair samples from private collections all around Europe. Some dated back as far as 200 years. Using cutting edge DNA sequencing, Barnett Barnett's research indicated that these relics belong to a species of bear. In fact, he was actually able to match them with the genetic signatures of ancient polar bears and Himalayan brown bears. So it seems our mythical creature may have had some bearish traits.
Well, we do say one version of the Yeti looks like a bear. So
Right, right.
it's very possible there's an undiscovered, or I don't. Milo, come on, get down. It's very possible that a version of it, I don't know, a version of a bear has been hidden up there. I mean, how deep and how impenetrable are the Himalayas?
Well, no doubt. I mean, you got a place though that it'd be hard to do any solid research because of the terrain and the altitude.
Then you also got the political climates of two different countries, plus India and China next door knocking at each other.
Right, right, and
Which,
they all have something to do with the Yeti.
generally, 'cause, I mean, all the way up until, what was it? 2019. Did you see this on, I believe they put it on Twitter or X now? The Indian Army in 2019 near their Makalu base camp tweeted photos of enormous footprints. I actually saw the photos.
I think I've seen it too.
32 by 15 inches long. I mean, that's huge.
It makes you wonder with a foot that big, how tall was this thing?
I'm wondering if some of it might have been a little bit of snow melt in it, but that is still a massive footprint.
No doubt about it. I agree with you there.
Ugh.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't want to run into this thing, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Well,
Definitely
I
not.
kind of do and I kind of don't. I mean, there's not been, as far as violent attacks, I came across, I believe, one.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I'm trying to
Was
find
it
it.
on a human or was it on an animal?
Both.
Okay.
Uh, from my understanding, it was a Sherpa herder, and I believe it took place in the 70s. Let's see here. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, I can't find it. I had it on here, and now I can't find it. But anyway, I've
Well,
read the story enough. A Sherpa herdsman was out with their yaks, and then they were violently, I believe, attacked from behind. And when they came to, several of their yaks were actually killed and disposed. So, yeah.
that sounds pretty interesting. I mean, and yeah, I want to say, through the years, I've watched a lot of documentaries and stuff, and uh, and on these documentaries, they had stories of some attacks and stuff, and I can remember, hearing them. But as far as something in, that's written in or anything, I couldn't find anything on as far as attacks. Now, you want to talk about possibilities. Let's talk about another episode that we did, the Dyatlov Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no speculation that that could have been a Yeti.
Or an almas, they call them almas up there. But yeah, that's possible.
You know, uh,
It'd be one of the strangest attacks in, well, I guess ever, honestly, if we look at it
right.
like that. And
You're right.
here's also the other thing. We're talking about areas that are so remote. Who's to say someone doesn't get snatched up occasionally, and who are they going to report it to?
Well, just curious. How many people go missing up that way?
I don't know. I can't find a number.
You can't find a number on it.
I mean,
I'm I'm sure it has to be like Alaska.
you would think. I mean, looking at it, uh, probably the professional people don't go missing a lot because they're with big teams. But villagers walking from place to place, caught in an avalanche, or the weather turns bad.
Right, right.
Curious.
Now I did find one story. Um, this was in the 1960s. Um, I don't even know if I could say this name. Sanam Hisha Sherpa.
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's hard to say. But anyway, some of the Sherpas I climbed with had stories about family yaks being attacked and yak herders terrorized by a creature that sounds like the enormous du, uh, Dazute, Dazute in 1986 in Namche Bazaar, capital of Sherma Kumbu region. Uh, he met this. I met Sanam Hisha Sherpa. 20 years previously, he had been grazing his yak cow crosses high on a pasture. During the night, he heard loud whistling and bellowing while he cowered with fright in a cave with his companions. They were sure they were going to be killed by the Dzute after it had finished with their livestock. In the morning, he and his men found that 2 dozen had been killed and eaten. There was no meat or bones remaining, only blood, dung, and intestines.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, ain't that something?
I think we're talking about the same story, but you got the whole version, and I couldn't find the daggone thing. But
Well,
that's that was
it was,
probably more than one right there. That was probably several.
yeah, right, right. And, of course, we ain't gonna, a lot of times you don't hear their stories because they ain't gonna tell them.
Bruh. I'm looking over. I'm trying to dig up people that go missing in Nepal. I guess in Nepal.
You may not find anything. I don't know.
I'm finding more than you think. Um.
Really.
Okay. Let's see. Local guides. The Washington Post. A dozen trekkers go missing per year. That's just trekkers. That's people that are professional.
Okay, it makes you wonder: are they killed by the winter, or are they killed, by the extreme cold? What is it?
I don't know. But one Nepali outfitter also quoted a tourism official saying it's more than that. 40 to 50 trekkers disappear each year.
40 to 50. Wow.
But it's also, we don't know that.
Right.
Let's see. India. Media tallies from the Indian Mountaineering Federation state sources say 150 trekking and mountaineer deaths over the last 5 years. Over half a dozen still missing. But how many of those are from an avalanche, a or ice shelf giving way, something like that? More than likely, uh, Everest alone has a death toll. Jesus,
It's probably really high.
this can't be right. Everest is a part of the Himalayan dead. Counts 335 deaths on Everest through 2024, but not missing. That's just deaths.
Hmm.
That's insane. But yeah, we're dealing with such a remote area of the world. I'm not going to say backwards people because I don't think they're backwards. they just live a different way of life than what we're used to here. And yeah, they don't have access to technology, and if one or two of them goes missing, who the hell are they gonna report it to? Really,
That's a good question, And would they even report it at all?
that is possible.
You know, uh, with it being so high as far, to say a sacred animal to them, they may. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what words I'm looking for on that.
I don't know. I'm still like going back to that Yeti finger heist. Like that's some crazy stuff that people were so desperate back then to prove it was real or not. And then, of course, there's always the old adage of "Where's the body? Where's the body? How come we don't have a body?" But you don't typically find bodies in the wilderness either way.
Well, I mean, it's done been proven, and it's been documented. You can look up matter of fact, you can look up stuff on YouTube of where they have a dead deer out in the woods and they leave a camera on it and they show how fast it decomposes, and every bit of it is taken by the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just the way it is. You know, and who's to say? Whether it be Yeti, Bigfoot, the Yowie, whatever, all of them in general.
Yeah,
Who's to say that they don't bury their dead?
yeah, that is true. And like some of we talked about before, what if they're another species of human being? Or at least I've mentioned it before, that maybe they're an offshoot of humanity or something along those lines. I don't know. I don't
There's
think.
so there's so many stories to it. I mean, even biblical or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just
because you've got some people that believe they're what? Dadgummit.
neck. Is it necro?
No.
No, no. I can't I can't remember the name, but
Yeah,
anyway, they're like fallen angels,
yeah.
pretty much.
Because I've heard reports of them, of someone using a Jewish instrument called a shofar and calling families of them to them, which that would be creepy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
I prefer to think that there's a human blood, related species of some kind, because at one point in time there was, good lord, we coexisted alone beside Neanderthal, I think Denisovan, and at least Floresian,
Right.
and we're the last survivors. We have, I believe, Denisovan in us and Neanderthal in our DNA.
So who's to say, that we ain't related to them in some way?
It's possible they could be an offshoot that just disappeared and learned to survive hardcore in the wilderness better than we ever, or maybe we survived like this at one point in time too. We don't know. I'm not.
Well, yeah.
I'm not gonna think it's that far fetched, but yeah, I don't know. I was just still as I said, still thinking about that. Stupid hand host. They got an actor from It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart, to help them smuggle out Yeti finger bones.
That is something. That really is. I mean,
The whole Yeti saga is, it's kind of crazy. I think it'll keep going. I mean, as said, like that last major incident was the Indian Army. So,
right.
So, well, Craig, I think that's about all I got. It's not going to be as long as our usual ones, but
No, definitely not. And, I mean, there's a lot of info on them, uh, but the info ain't as lengthy as a lot of things.
I think it has to do with the harshness of the environment, the remoteness of the subject we're dealing with, the fact that how many people, I mean, it's a tourist destination now, but how many people really get to this point? How many people really get up there to Nepal, Bhutan, into those mountains in the Himalayas and India and China and all that,
Oh, no doubt. No
Tibet?
doubt about it.
There's so many, it's just so remote.
I know. I know. It's something.
Yeah. But anyway, I figured next week, or our next episode, I should say, we're going to get back to the paranormal. We haven't done a paranormal one in a long time. We're going to do West Virginia State Penitentiary, Moundville, as it's often sometimes called. It's one of the most haunted prisons in the United States. We've done Brushyville State Penitentiary in Tennessee. So we're doing another haunted prison, I guess, because we liked haunted prisons. So just stay tuned for that. And I was going to give a shout out to Spirited Investigations. Apparently, they're sending us a EMF reader.
Yeah, we're trying to get started, and soon we're hoping to go out on a live paranormal hunt.
Or at least filmed on location. I don't know about live. We'll try to get it live.
And also want to give a shout out to Sean and Crystal Vines of Paranormal Adventures. Sorry, my mind went blank.
Yeah, I did.
They have their own podcast. It's on Spotify. What's the other one? Podbane. Thank you. But you can, if anybody wants to share stories or whatever, just send your message to paranormaladventures2@gmail.com. And you could also message us.
Yeah. Email us at the Supernatural Roundtable, or actually it's supernaturalroundtable@gmail.com. I also want to give a shout out to Oklahoma Cryptid Search Team. They helped us get over 100. Now we're over 200. That happened fast.
And we appreciate all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. Give you a big shout out. And if you would, anybody, if you haven't subscribed to us, help us out. Like and share. Share it with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Supernatural Roundtable, signing off for now. From haunted hollers to shadows in the pines, the strange is never too far from home. Until next time, keep your wits about you, and we'll meet again down the road.